a lot of people don't believe that, but I still believe that long form content actually has a lot more benefit. So you write long form meaty content, which is addressing the problems of what your customers are looking for. You're actually giving them a solution. That is also something that I have looked and have found that to be much more relevant nowadays. People are looking for a solution.
Welcome to SEO Unveiled. I'm Clay Kramer. Today, I've got a great guest for us, Aditi Biswas. She works as an SEO content manager with MoEngage, and she has 12 plus years experience in SEO writing, content marketing, blogging, social media marketing, email marketing, customer focused marketing. Oh my God, optimizing businesses for search engines. She loves doing it all. It's not just that. She makes impact happen. I mean, I read this bio. The first time I read this bio, I was like, whoa. So she's more than doubled organic traffic impression and click-through rate for AirMeet hub pages in just 3 months. And then she 5x organic traffic from a rebranding of Rev in November of 2020. Oh yeah, and social media impressions rose 45%. How could I forget that? And she also help drive engagement by increasing DAU, so daily active users, time spent in Healify from 10% to 45% in just a few months. So I'm really excited to have Aditi here today on the show. She's got a really powerful insight on content. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Clay. How are you doing? And thank you for such a warm welcome.
Yeah, I'm really excited because I feel like you've got a cool insight that's going to be really helpful to share. And one of the first things that I like to start out with is, how did you get into this kind of SEO or content space?
Okay. So basically, when I started off as a content writer, was exploring. I always liked writing. I mean, I somehow always ended up writing like poems, essays, and all of that. So, and when I joined a particular small company in Kolkata, I mean, I started there, and there I started as an SEO content writer. This was way back in 2009 when SEO was all about like spamming your blogs with keywords and probably like clicking your website, like, because that's how traffic started growing and ranking. Yeah. So from there, I think I moved on to a pretty much more clear path wherein I've moved into a path wherein I mix my content strategy with SEO so that there is a lot more conversions, there's a lot more traffic, there's a lot more impact on the website as well as the overall results that we want to get, like whether it's downloading an ebook or whether people you want them to sign up, or you just want them to attend a webinar. So yeah, that's what been my role for the last 12 years. And currently I'm working with MoEngage. It's a customer engagement platform. I'm working with the content team out here to work on their SEO strategies and make sure that we are killing it in every asset and every content that we are writing. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I don't always get to talk to a lot of content writers. So I'm really excited because I feel like you've got a great perspective because, a lot of SEO is driven by content. And so getting an insight like this is really helpful. And, one thing that I wanted to start out with is, what trends in general are you noticing in SEO right now that you're really excited about?
Okay. One of the major trends that I have noticed from a shift from when I started to now is that how we look at keywords. Because when it comes to keywords, it's not anymore of just write keywords, just write various variations of the keyword variations and just include all the LSI keywords and you're done. Right now, it's more about mapping the intent of that keyword with the content that you're writing. So if the intent is something which is more commercial in nature, you're they are problem aware, but they are not solution aware. And the keyword is like that. So the content also needs to focus on those kind of problem solving solutions, right? When one more important trend that I have noticed over the past few years recently is the kind of content and the way the content writing has changed, right? Like before, it was a very standard 500 word articles, where you publish to every possible black, like, every possible site. I don't know if you've heard of design articles and all of that. I think I'm pretty much, my profile is still there. But yeah, we used to write like a bunch of articles, like day in, day out, push out like 15 articles in a day, probably that's, and we were just hashing out articles. But nowadays, I've seen that article, the way you approach a blog piece or a content piece, or even an ebook for that matter, has completely changed. Wherein, now your blogs are much more longer forms. I know a lot of people don't believe that, but I still believe that long form content actually has a lot more benefit. So you write long form, meaty content, which is addressing the problems of what your customers are looking for. You're actually giving them a solution. That is also something that I have looked and have found that to be much more relevant nowadays. People are looking for a solution. So your content, even if they have like hundreds of links outside going out, or going to other pages in your website, it still has to give an end solution or a stop to the person, or an answer to the person seeking for that particular keyword, right?
Yeah.
Another thing that I have noticed of mark difference, and this is where like the whole social media impact actually came in, was the fact that it's not about just writing content, it's also about distribution. And if you don't do distribution, and I follow this amazing guy on his name is Ross Simons, and he has this amazing blog place called Foundation Inc. And he's a brilliant content marketer. He always says that you write one piece of article or one piece of blog, or even one ebook, which is what your customers are looking for, or you're trying to address a particular problem that they have, and you distribute the, like, you go all out for distribution, like, right?
Sure.
Like, you actually have, like, in a week, you probably distribute it on your social media, you go back the next week and again distribute it on your social media platforms, like be it Twitter, be it Reddit, be it TikTok for that matter, be it Snapchat, because people are everywhere. People, as you said, Claire, like, people love getting bombarded with notifications, and they would like to see you there. You can actually take a piece of content and you can convert it into various forms, right? You can make it into a video, you can make it into a blog piece, you can make it into a Twitter thread, and people will actually consume that, and people will click that, and people will come to your site, which actually ends up, like, changes the whole perspective of treating a blog piece as a 500 word, to the blog piece, which is like now a much more 2,000 word, well researched, well written blog piece, which you distribute and distribute and distribute. So yeah, I think these are a few of the trends that I've recently seen it change. And these are a few of the trends that I'm actively trying to implement and everywhere I go or everywhere I'm touching. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah. I mean, I love how tactical that is. Your approach seems very much like there's like real good nuggets of what people can do to change in their organization. Where long form and multiple avenues of one content piece becoming multiple different kinds of things, from video content or audio or other kinds, or even infographic, or it become a chapter of an ebook. A lot of different ways to utilize the longer form content. So I think that's fantastic. What other ways are you finding? Like, what other tactics are you using to stay ahead of just changes in SEO in general?
Well, I read up. One thing that I always do, and this is something that I've learned from one of my previous managers, and she used to come every day and she used to tell every day in the morning, 30 minutes, pick a topic and read. Once I decided I wanted to become a content marketer, and I knew that SEO is going to play a very important role. And, there will be times where I might not have like a lot of people at hand, like who can quickly solve my problem. Yeah. When I started was that I wanted to just sit down and I wanted to read up what was happening. So yeah, Ross Simons was one of the person who I actually follow very, very religiously, like across like whatever plans and strategies he throws my way. If that's possible to implement it, I'll probably implement it all. Another thing that I do definitely read up is a bunch of posts from SEMrush. Like, I do really find their tips and tricks very helpful. I also do follow a lot of Ahrefs. And I also do follow a lot of these forums and communities wherein actually like one of them being Superpath. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's by one of the content marketing agencies. They have a community called Superpath, and they are brilliant. I mean, they do talk a lot about all these SEO tactics and hacks and things that you can do. And this is how like I actually start my day. And once I have like a few things in my kitty, like I know what my plan is, next steps, usually I go with a plan which is a 30, 60, and 90-day plan, and of course then again a yearly plan, because I don't believe in that SEO is a one time effort. It's never this that you find the keywords and you put in the keywords and you end it. No, it doesn't work like that. It never did, it never will, and in the future it's never ever going to. So the first thing that I do is whenever I have an asset which I need to have it as SEO optimized, I need a plan. So the first thing that I do is that I always open up Google Search Console. I see what are the keywords that, if there are similar keywords that are being trending, is anything which is throwing up from our website, how is it, like what does it look like, when was it last updated, is it getting enough clicks, is it getting enough impressions. um, Second step I do is I religiously open up SEMrush or AHRDF, any one of them, any one of these tools, and I actually do a very religious keyword research. Okay, like wherein, like, since now that I know that these are the queries for which Mo Engage does come up as a result, and even if it is in the probably in the 22nd page, I'll still consider that. And then when I finish up with the keyword research, what I do is I actually figure out how what's the volume looks like, what is the intent, what are the keyword variations, and I also see if there are competitors who are ranking, if their featured snippets are ranking, what is it that, like, which other sub features are they ranking for? Is it a PA? Is it a featured snippet section? Is it like link inside a link, any of the images which are popping up? And once I have all this data with me, which is like a lot of data usually
Yeah.
at the end of the day, right? What I then sit and follow through is that I try and figure out whether that particular piece of content is, how can I go proceed with it? Whether it will have like every year updated content, whether I can make like probably like 10 different variations of the content tomorrow, and like, again, as I said, distribute it, right? So these are the few things that I do take care. When it comes to the writing part of the content, my writers and I am a firm believer of the content optimization tools. I use Surfer SEO. I mean, I've used phrase.io, I've used Surfer SEO, I've used ClearScope. Pretty similar tools, pretty great tools. They do give a lot of NLP terms. They do give a lot of these common words and phrases that other people use, and like, other of your competitors use, and what are they using, so you can do a quick deep dive into that. You have a result with that. Once entire all of this information is available to me right now, then I sit back and I actually plan the next things, which is like, now that I know that I want a landing page or a blog which is a little clearer from the type of asset that I'm having. So for example, if it's an ebook which is like catering to a specific region, say North America, I would probably have just a small landing page which will go for the ads, which will probably have as a pop up on our website as a floating banner, and have like, and develop the cluster topics. If it is something like, if it is a more like a global approach, I prefer, or if it's something like which is a very top of the funnel content piece, then and if I see the search intent is more around informational intent, where people are still learning what that trend is and trying to figure out what that trend is, I then always suggest to go for a blog, because it's way easier to rank for a blog, because you have a lot of scope of writing a lot of content around it. And I can also make out a bit of cluster topics around it. So my next plan that goes is that once I have figured out what are the keywords that we want to target for that particular asset, and whether that asset will fit in the top of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, or the middle of the funnel,
Mhm.
I make and sit and make a plan for the next 60 days. And usually the 60 days involves a whole bit of auditing, a whole bit of backlink generation, a whole bit of guest post, a whole bit of social media posting. Basically, very simple steps, which you can like actually invest like I would say probably like 3 days in a week, and you can have like a proper plan for it, right? The 60 days plan is usually that. Post 60 days, 60 to 90 days is when I revisit. I run an audit again. I actually see if things are working. People are clicking, not clicking. If they're clicking, where are they clicking to? Are they really downloading? Is there MQLs happening? Have they converted to SQLs? If not, whether there is a break in the flow and all of that. Once that is done is when I come with a yearly plan wherein I see whether that asset is something that we can come back every few months to update. Is it an asset which is like a one-off piece, which is like usually these very lengthy ebooks that we have? So they are like one-off pieces where we are going to put one up and we cannot update it anymore. We might need to have a fresh survey. We might need to run fresh content again around it.
Yeah.
Versus, well, will those be content pieces which will have regular updates, or which will have as and when regional areas open up, like if we are now targeting say the Middle East as well as versus the North, or the Europe versus North America, if there are things which are different, can I update that blog and actually make another set of cluster content pieces around it? So it's a huge work. Usually, like, a lot of tools help me, but having this clear mindset actually lets me tell my team that, hey, you know what, this is the plan. This is how we tackle it. These are the keywords that we want to rank for. These are the LSI keywords that we might need to target in the future. These are the guest post opportunities that will come up. These are the social media hacks and hashtags that we should be after, along with the PPC, which technically, if it's a very bottom of the funnel content, usually a PPC also goes around with, or ads do run with it. So that is again a little bit synced with it, because then we want to bombard people with the same content, that if they are searching for email marketing, Mo Engage's email marketing ebook is the ebook that you get. Nothing else is what you can see. So yeah, that's usually my 30, 60, 90 to a year plan, like, which I usually have like in my head when I'm planning any strategy for any piece of content. I hope this answers the question.
I mean, I love how comprehensive and how tactical you pointed out, like, okay, breaking things down, how organized you can make it, and how you can take like, hey, how do you drive the content for a whole company into bite-sized chunks that are manageable? Because I think, I almost felt overwhelmed by how much you're doing, because I'm like, wow, there's so much going on there, but it's like so organized. And I'm like, okay, that's how she does it. She just kind of takes so much, she pieces it down, and then she kind of works the plan. And then you can get to an end result where after, the 60 days, you can see how things are going, and you can kind of reorient the year plan after you've gained some insight into what is starting to work, what's not working, or how certain keywords are turning out. I love this impact. And I mean, I definitely want to understand more about the cluster pieces and how you determine those. I feel like that would give me a full picture of how to do this if I didn't know anything about content.
Okay. So when it comes to cluster pieces, one of the biggest challenges is figuring out what is the main keyword that you want that particular piece of asset or particular piece of content to be ranking for, and what are the supporting content that you can generate around that same keyword. One of the hacks, and this is something that I've learned from SEMrush, reading up quite a bit on that, was figuring out what are the featured snippet opportunities that you have, right? Like one of the reasons that featured snippet ranks, or you can actually push in that box that comes up in your Google search result, is basically trying to figure out what are the questions that people are asking for. Now, SEMrush has this like a whole section on questions. So does, I think, Ahref also has a section called questions. You can definitely look into them. You can pick and choose, because as one of the trends that I've seen is that the way people search have changed quite a bit. Like, we right now literally type in entire questions to Google. So, if you're answering a problem, it's great, because that's one of the topics which will rank, which will get your branded keywords also on the top, and it will get your non-branded keywords also on the top, right? So those can form a part of your cluster, right? Like your how-tos, your whats, your whys. Those are questions that you should and you definitely should answer. Another thing that I always look into is, as I said, I do go and check what your competitors are ranking around those particular keywords, right? Like now, for example, one of the very common keyword for one of my previous companies was electronic signature, right? And they were very NA, North America centric company, right? And I remember people were looking for simple things as to how to do an e-sign on PDF. Like that's it, like because people struggle with it. And we wrote like a bunch of blogs around it, like, right, like how can you do an e-sign on PDF with DocuSign? How can you do it with ABC signature, some other company? How do you do it at Rev? How do you possibly make it happen? Like, and what are the laws that you should be mindful of, so that you're not like, you're not doing anything which is illegal, or you're not signing anything which is illegal if you, and the whole process. And that was a theme that we maintained. And that theme actually started getting us a lot of conversions, because these were people who were they were very, very aware of problems, and mostly like the target audience was CAs and people who are looking to send out these PDFs, like HR companies. And they were very happy because we were giving them all possible solutions. We were telling them, okay, these are the competitors, these are how you can do it in the competitor website. And very unbiased opinion, right? Like we never ever approached like, okay, we are the best in the company. We never did that. We actually said, okay, these are the benefits if you use A company, these are the benefits if you use B company, and this is how we produce it. Now you can do your pick and choose and select the one which is like suitable for your particular sector or for your particular niche. So that's another thing that I always look into, is that question part is where you really want to hit, and you really want to hit hard. Another thing that I've seen is that sometimes it also depends on the intent of the question. Now, while when I say intent, right, like there's the informational intent, there's of course the commercial intent, then there's the transactional intent where people are aware of your brand and they just want to go and purchase, right? Usually it is the informational and the commercial intent where you want to start ranking. Now, informational intent, if your keyword is something which is a little generic in nature, probably something like, okay, let's pick up another example. What is a business proposal, right? And this is a sales document, right? And we saw that people were still confused about sales agreement and business proposals and business contract, right? Like, and these are similar sounding keywords that people did not know what they were working for, or what they were looking for, or what is it exactly, which document particularly fit there. What we did was we approached it, okay, we need to inform the customer that this is, if you're building a startup, probably what you send out to your investor is a business proposal, versus to what you send out to your customer is what is the sales agreement, versus what is a business contract is probably a document which you do way before when you're probably registering your company, right? Like, and these were things that were people looking for. So the intent of the keyword led us to look at 3 different or 3 more keywords. And what we found was, again, we looked into the keyword variations. We kind of saw all the informational content, picked those up, and started building very long form, very detailed content pieces around it, so that people knew exactly what they are looking for and what they are searching for. And if they do, like if they did ever land up at Rev, they had the entire solution in place. So our blogs were very long. Some of them went up to like 5,000 words.
Wow.
Don't get it. But I used to prefer that. And there's a reason behind that. It was not keyword, it was never ever like, we never used to force keywords around it. But what we used to do was make sure that if the blog is answering a question, right, that question is completely answered, like the what's, the hows. And this is something that I always used to tell my team whenever I used to train them, that you write a blog piece, it should be what, your how, your when, your where, and why. Everything should be answered. If that blog goes up to 7,000 words, I'm fine with it, but it should never be like, I shouldn't be like, okay, after this, what? It should never happen. The person should get a closure in that blog piece itself. Right. So yeah, when I'm building cluster topics, these are the few things that I try and keep in my mind when I'm building it. Definitely there are tools that helps. I mean, Surfer SEO is one of them. They do have a section called Content Planner, which actually gives you the cluster topics. Sometimes they're relevant, sometimes they're not. You can definitely pick and choose and go ahead and plan accordingly. A thing that I've seen work is it also depends on the kind of keyword, as I said, that you have. Of course, the intent match happens, the competitor keyword you did, and the questions you answered. The last thing that I do and I see is that is there something that we can offer to our customers via our content, right? And uh, okay, it sounds very like, I don't know, a lot of people have a very biased opinion about it. I've seen when I was working with this company called Airmeet, um, people were looking for templates. Now, these are event organizers. They don't have a time for templates, right? Like they don't
Sure.
really have a time to like make an Excel sheet, and they want ready-made templates that can fill up. When I was working for document management system, that was same thing for calculators. People were looking for calculators, where they can quickly calculate their tax or quickly calculate some business deal, or how much will their contract cost, right? I'm yet to explore this at Mo Engage, but yeah, we are exploring certain things on customer engagement too. And I have seen that those are the places where it works best if you offer something. So I don't know if you guys if you have used Airtable. Airtable has followed this format, and they are doing brilliantly. They actually just have pages after pages of content on these templates, right? And
Mhm.
these are templates which are pretty free. You can download it. Of course, there are certain features which will be closed because Airtable wants customers at the end of the day.
Sure.
But their strategy is brilliant. And this is a strategy which I feel, again, depends on the industry or the niche that you are in. If you are in a very competitive market like marketing, which Mo Engage is, this might not be the right way to go about it. You might try to still stick around with the intent more and the competitors part more. If it is something like Rev was pretty much new in the sector and very, very niche offering from India as a B2B SaaS company. Um, this is where I feel like, we could, play around with, okay, these are the templates that they're looking for. Maybe, if you're an HR person, these are the 5 templates that you should have in your kitty if you're recruiting somebody. So our blogs were much more like that. And our keywords were also much more specific because we knew who our target audience was, and we knew exactly what kind of template to give them. So yeah, this is one more hack I actually learned over the years, and I actually implemented. And believe me, we did get a lot of signups, a lot of questions, a lot of conversions, a lot of leads. Actually, pretty interesting because we never expected that to happen, especially with
Yeah.
as boring a thing as a contract or agreement. But we did get a bunch of them because we eventually decided that it should be a part of the website, and we actually went ahead and made it a part of the website, wherein we had an entire section which called templates, where people can go and click down and look
Sure.
at the templates. Yeah, so
I
these
mean,
are things.
I love how user focused you are on the content of like, hey, if someone's looking for how to calculate tax, you provide them a way to do that. Or if they're looking for a template to solve a certain need, and you're kind of like even if you're like on the web spreadsheeting kind of databasey kind of company like Airtable, provide them the basic spreadsheet for them to do themselves. And after a while, they'll understand, well, you guys are just the experts in this kind of stuff anyway. So I'm just going to use your product, and you're going to have the templates built in. So it's kind of like you're creating your own competitiveness, but in the whole fact of trying to help the user in a way that makes it easy for them. And maybe after a while, those users will understand the value proposition of the paid product is just there and so much better, and they'll move towards that. I love that. The one thing I keep on hearing from you is make more content, and a lot of it. And I almost wonder, is there a point where there's too much content where it's not helpful? But I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a
Um, okay. Very honestly, Clay, I'll answer this question very tactfully. Like, okay, now, for one of my orgs where I was working, it was a B2C company, right?
yeah.
And kind of like Facebook, but it was for all pregnant and parenting people, right?
Sure.
And they were using it like Facebook, like they would literally open the app and they did a refresh and they needed new content around it.
Yeah.
We had very short forms of content, like we had like those slideshows, we had like probably like an infographic, which was like which was fitted very well in your mobile device. And
Sure.
At times there were months where we used to produce 600 pieces of such content pieces, right? Like that was like a huge number, but we needed to give it because these were like 1 million users, and they were looking for content every second, right? And they wanted new content every second. These are moms who are at home, or to-be
There's
moms who are
so
at
many
home.
problems in parenting. You like an
And
endless
they
amount
were
of content you can write.
yeah, and the good part was they also had a very good community, so we got a lot of ideas from the community itself, wherein the community is like, hey, do I give my kid this, or do I, should I even allow like this particular toy, or how do I make toys at home? And these were the kind of searches that were coming in, and these were the kind of queries that were coming in, and we had that option of creating a lot of content.
Sure.
Very honestly, at Rev or even at AirMeet, that option was not there. So we were becoming like a very niche sector, because these are people who are looking very specific content types. So there, instead of mass producing content, what I usually follow is like a 1:10 ratio, right? Like, and wherein when I say 1:10 is that if you have a landing page, or if you have like one pillar page, select up to that combination of 10 keywords that I was talking about, right? Like your keyword questions, your competitor keywords, your probably your like, your how-to keywords, or probably a few of the templates format that you can probably include, and select up to about 8 to 10, not more than that, not less than that. And I'll say why 8 and 10 is a magical number. It's because you'll probably see in SEMrush, Server SEO, every other tool, you'll get that as to be the magical number. And I have seen that to be the magical number over the years. So I stick around with 8 to 10. And what I do is I figure out that 8 to 10 cluster topics. Your keyword and your content should be ranking pretty fast and pretty soon. Like even if it's a competitive keyword. Now, your next question might be that, writing 10 blogs in a month, it's going to be a huge task, right? Usually that's not how I do it. So I divide that among that 8 to 10 keywords that I picked, right? Now there, keep a mix as in, like, if it's a how-to blog, keep it very detailed, very lengthy, very informative, solving your problems of your customer, talk about pain points, talk about solutions, talk about how you're making a difference, everything. Like, give templates if that's possible, right? Give your help documents links if you can. Give videos too, like give GIFs and videos too, right? So probably keep like a 2 of them for that. For the rest, 7 to 8, the magic thing that works, and I'm not ashamed to say it, is listicles. Oh my God, they work. Okay. So you can probably pick like around another 2 more topics, which is kind of a listicle, which is more written from the SEO perspective. And I'll tell you why listicles work. Is things like people are looking for, they're looking for quick access. So remember, like I was telling you that we were talking about electronic signature on a PDF, right? And then we came up with a list of companies which can offer you electronic signature. So we listed out all the NA companies on from North America, and we picked and listed them, and we put them. One, it generated a lot of eyeballs because we were giving them links, and they were coming back and checking us out. So that actually got us interested, that got people interested. Another thing that happened was we were getting a lot of backlinks also. Now, there were other companies who were at a smaller scale, like at Rev was, and we actually had people coming back and say, hey, can you also include a para, like, in our about us in the blog, and maybe like, you can give a similar content. So that opens up guest post opportunities for you. So have like around a listicle kind of a format. Mm-hmm. If you can include templates, have that. Space out your content. Like, you don't have to push out content every month. I definitely wouldn't recommend. So focus on your main asset, focus on distributing that asset. Probably over the next 3 months to like 6 months, 3 to 6 months is where you should aim for completing that 10 plus 10 thing. Again, it depends on the kind of keywords that you're looking for. For a B2B, usually those keywords are very commercial in nature, or if they're very informative in nature, it might require a little bit more time. Space it out. It's absolutely okay. It's never a hard and fast rule that whatever, you have to finish off everything altogether. It's never that. I would rather say have the main asset ready. And once you have the main asset ready, actually focus more on the distributing part rather than on the 10 keywords. Those 10 keywords that you select, they can work as a secondary option, like your Second step, once you're finished with your social media, your first round of social media is where you focus on the next 10.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed one more point. The two listicles that I select, and the other two, I pick up actually two similar sounding keywords or the keyword variations, which are like little similar, or the plural form or the long form of that keyword.
Sure.
Is basically I pick up those keywords to actually pitch for my guest post. So that is a place where I know it's going to be relevant content and it's going to get me a backlink. So yeah, that comes down to 6. So other two you can.
I mean, that's super comprehensive. I mean, I love how in depth you've gone on all this stuff, and we're running a little over, so I wanted to just give you some time to tell everybody who you are and if you have anything you're working on or ways people could reach you.
Yeah, okay. So basically, I'm working currently at Mo Engage right now, and I'm taking care of the SEO and not complete SEO plus content, basically making sure that all their strategies are clicking, making sure that we are ranking. One small thing that I definitely want to leave with is that there are lots of strategies that are there regarding content and SEO. Don't feel overwhelmed because some work, some don't. Experiment, because I have done that. It took me 12 years to figure out what's working, what's not working. B2B is very different from B2C. And I feel like you should treat it as that. B2B SaaS is very different from B2B enterprise companies. Treat it like that. Treat your keywords with a little bit of love. And I think figure out what is it that your problem statements are more than anything, even your keywords. And I think that should get you going. I mean, that should get your content rocking, even no matter what you do. Like, even if you don't do any bit of SEO, I feel if you answer the problems of your customers, I think that gets you the conversions and the leads that you're looking for. And yeah, that's about it. And I hope you enjoyed this session as much as I did.
Yeah, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate it. I think our listeners will love how tactical this is. It has really been a lot of fun for me. So I want to thank you so much for coming on. And that's a wrap.